So, my friends, we just passed a $1.2 trillion spending bill, and I'm less mad about the bill itself than the context of this bill. Okay, so why don't we just start off with who signed off on this bill? It's a $1.2 trillion, my friends. We're like $30 trillion in debt already. We don't have any money. We're broke, and we're still printing money. We're still spending money on things, my friends, that don't matter. By the way, we're not helping ourselves with any of this stuff. It's not going to us. It's going to other countries, and we'll get into all that. But real quick, we have an article from Newsweek, and they passed it with a vote. Is overwhelmingly like it won. Anyway, the vote 74-24 in the Senate was concluded at approximately 2 a.m. on Saturday. So this article is by Thomas Kika. So check out Newsweek, whatever, right? Okay, cool. So anyway, this stupid $1 trillion, I don't even know what it is at this point. What is it again? $1.2 trillion bill passed. Every single Democrat voted for the bill, but get this, except for Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado, I don't know who that is, and Senator Bernie Sanders. Senator Bernie Sanders had enough common sense to not sign off on this bill, unless, like my producer Micah said earlier, he said, or maybe it wasn't enough, and it wasn't enough money spent. But I'm of the opinion maybe Bernie Sanders just didn't like this bill. I hope not. I mean, I hope that's what it is. A few independents didn't sign off on it, but we don't care about them. What I really want to look at is these Republicans who did not vote, who was Mike Braun of Indiana and Rick Scott of Florida, out of all people. I know a lot of you guys are a big fan of Rick Scott. Why don't you guys email his office or call his office and ask him why he didn't vote on this bill? But honestly, Rick Scott is the least of my worries in the Republican Party at the moment, where we now have a list of Republicans who decided to join the Democrats and sign off on this bill. There's a total of 25 who did sign off on this bill. And you guys, most of these names you're not going to be surprised by, but you're going to be surprised by some of these names. Some of you are. I'm not surprised by it. But anyway, let's just name some of these people. Okay, Susan Collins of Maine. You know, you got Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. You got Mitch McConnell of Kentucky. You got Mitt Romney of Utah. You know, so you got guys in here that suck, that you just know, okay, yeah. I mean, these guys suck, okay? And you're not surprised, necessarily. But I want to point out some specific people, specifically one person, and that's Katie Britt of Alabama. Katie Britt was the lady who was voted in that conservatives in this state were excited about. You know, Trump endorsed her. Actually, Trump pulled his endorsement from someone who I felt like deserved his endorsement, who deserved to be in office, and that's good old Mo Brooks. You know, we called him MAGA Mo. You know, that guy had a great voting record. He's conservative, pro-life, loved the guy. He actually came and spoke to our Turning Point USA chapter here at Auburn University. Good guy. So Donald Trump decides to pull his endorsement from Mo Brooks because of, again, Again, I don't care how you guys feel about Donald Trump. His ego got attacked. That's what happened. And Mo Brooks just said, we simply need to focus on 2022. That's all he said. That's all he said. And he didn't, he wasn't denying that the election was stolen. As a matter of fact, he was one of the chief cornerstones in Trump's campaign to promote this election interference. Like he was right next to Trump saying the election was stolen, which I agree. And I don't have an issue with saying that. But as soon as Mo Brooks decided to focus on 2022, Trump took it out on him. And really, I think that's just a facade because, if I'm being honest, Mo Brooks didn't run the best campaign. And so Trump probably saw a loss coming. And so he decided to probably endorse Katie Britt for his voting record. Again, that's like 3 strikes of just egoism right there. No, you should stand on principle, Trump, and vote for the person who was best for the state. And that was Mo Brooks. Sadly, though, we got Katie Britt who signed off on this bill. Now, a lot of you guys may not be as mad as I am about this bill right at the moment, but you will be in about 30 seconds when I tell you what this bill specifically actually did and funded. And you're going to think twice about Katie Britt and a lot of these other 25 Republicans who, decided to vote off on this bill. And I'm going to have a list of these Republicans in the description. And you guys can see for yourselves. I'm also we're gonna have the article obviously up here, so you'll be able to see it. But call these offices, my friends. Email these people, and ask them, why did you vote on this bill? Why did you vote for this bill? Now, let me just list a few things that let me just list a few things that are included in this bill. You guys are gonna be blown away. But you guys ready for this? Every single issue that we are against here at RSBN is what this bill supports. And that's what Katie Britt and Mitch McConnell and your terrible Republicans voted for. Let's list off some of these, okay? So $850,000 for a gay senior home. $15 million to pay for Egyptians' college tuitions. $400,000 for a gay activist group to teach elementary kids about being trans. $500,000 for a diversity, equity, and inclusion program at a zoo. It's called the Anti-Racist Nature Appreciation Program. $400,000 for a group to give clothes to teens to help them hide their gender. 1.5 billion green new scam funding. That's what I like to call it. Green new scam funding. $300 to $500 million to Ukraine, Secretary of Census Initiative. Continues funding Joe Biden's border invasion, obviously. 12,000 Afghan special immigrant visas and authorization to support loans to the International Monetary Fund. It offers benefits for illegal aliens, late-term funding for abortions at home and abroad. That's more like the United Nations funding. Diversity, equity, inclusion funding initiatives across the nation for universities or whatever. And then it also funds the FBI new headquarters, which also, by the way, Trump supports as well. So that's just a few things that that's on that thing. And I'm gonna list the bill and link in the description. You can find the whole thing, but it's basically a combination of multiple things combined into one. So it's not just like one bill on its own. It's like a bunch of things. But that's just a few things that your Republicans are supporting in this nation. Now, again, it's on you guys. I'm just a messenger. I'm not inciting any violence. I'm just saying maybe you should make some calls, shoot some emails, show up to their offices with some cameras, and just do your due diligence as citizens. But I'm just a messenger. You take that for what you will, okay? His article goes on to say Republicans and Democrats were at odds over the size of the budget, with conservatives pushing for spending cuts to reduce the national debt, which is exactly what I believe we should be doing, while progressives saw increased spending on social programs and climate change initiatives. In the wake of the bill's passage in the House, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Georgia Republican, filed a motion to oust GOP House Speaker Mike Johnson of Louisiana. The previous Speaker, Representative Kevin McCarthy, a California Republican, was similarly ousted from the role last year after cooperating with Democrats to pass a stopgap funding bill and avert a government shutdown. Again, I don't really at this point have an issue with government shutdowns. I mean, at this point, like what are we losing at this point? We're already $30 trillion in debt. We have an open border. We have late-term abortion funding going on across the country. We don't really care about our First or Second Amendment rights at this point as a country. And most importantly, God has completely gone out of our textbooks and our classrooms, and Gen Z and millennials are more atheists now than ever. So ultimately, a government shutdown doesn't really sound like the worst thing in the world, you know. But again, my biggest concern is you have an Alabama senator, Katie Britt. Alabama, like you're supposedly your most conservative state in the South, is perfectly okay with doing this stuff. I mean, you also got Tom Cotton out of Arkansas. You got Kevin Kramer out of North Dakota. And you got Deb Fisher out of Nebraska. This one's concerning Roger Wicker out of Mississippi. So, I mean, these are just a few people from a few of your senators who are just no longer have any spine. and I've kind of turned away. It's sad. It's sad, and I don't really have anything else to say about that. But that's a story out of DC. At this point, DC should be its own country. I kind of agree with the Democrats. Make it its own state and then let it secede from the union. But yeah, no, Mike, you don't like that. Make DC its own state and then just let it be its own country at this point. They would never leave the U.S. Yeah, I know. Unless we kick them out. And then make the capital. Who should make the capital? We should make the capital and no longer Washington D.C. It should be Auburn, Alabama. No, it should be divided between three different cities, one being the legislative capital, one being the judicial capital, and one being the executive capital. That is. I hope y'all heard that. Do you think they're going to catch that on the audio? He said that for you guys listening on maybe Spotify or maybe watching on YouTube or Rumble, he said that it should be the capital should be split between three different cities, one being the legislative capital, the executive capital, and the judicial capital. That is 10 out of 10. I like that. That's a real checks and balances type government right there. That's how you drain the swamp. Yeah, I like that. Oh, man. Micah, you ever thought about running for president? Oh, gosh. Okay. Anyway, that's the story out of DC. Do with that information what you will. I highly recommend that you guys take some action, though, because ultimately this country's falling apart. At this point, I don't care. I'm a citizen of heaven, okay? All right, I'm a pilgrim passing through. I care about my country, but at this point, if it goes away, it goes away. Jesus is coming back soon. That's all I'm concerned about. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing.